Saint is just the most overprotective, grumpy, soft boy, and I love him so much. It takes place in a bridge kingdom, and the bridge is over water.
So it's perfect.
So, just saying. We have a deliciously gray hero in this book. An enemies to lovers story with a slow burn romance in one bed. Oh my god. What's up my friends? Welcome back to my channel. My name is Tori if you're new. I'm so excited that you're here. Today we're gonna be talking about a bunch of very summary book recommendations, but this video is specific to the Once Upon a Readathon, a bunch of book recommendations that will get you extra points. As a co-host for Team Pirates, I had to hook us up with the pirate recommendations. It is myself and Maggie from Maggie's Books and Stuff that are co-hosts for Team Pirates. There's still plenty of time to join. Once Upon a Readathon takes place the entire month of June, so June 1st to the 30th. There's not 31 days in June. June 30th. So plenty of time to join. I will leave the announcement video linked in the description box below, mine and Hannah Blackwell's, because it is Hannah Blackwell's brainchild readathon and it is so incredible. A very low pressure, mood reader friendly readathon. So I have a bunch of book recommendations from a lot of different genres to go through, a lot of pirate recommendations specifically, and a lot of fantasy romance pirate recommendations, because come on now. So if you're excited, please give this video a big thumbs up, subscribe to my channel, grab a water, beverage, coffee, tea, snack. Let's talk about some books. I'm gonna have chapters for this video, so if you are only interested in a specific grouping of books that I'm talking about, feel free to look at the chapters down below. I think I'm gonna break this video out by just like water setting type books, because you get additional points in Once Upon a Readathon for reading any book with any type of water setting. So it can be the ocean, a lake, an island, whatever it is, as long as it has a water setting. So that's gonna be this first section, and then the second section or chapter of this video are going to be my pirate specific books. All of the pirate books also have water settings as well, but they have pirates in them, and so that gets extra points for Team Pirates. Books with water settings I feel like are so fun to read in the summer anyways. So again, regardless of whether you're participating in the Once Upon a Readathon or not, I feel like these are all books that I have read that I've really enjoyed, and I've read a lot of them in the summertime. So we will start with a coho book, which I don't recommend coho very often, but I read this book called Heartbones. It's by Colin Hoover. The entire setting of this book is like beach house, beachy summer vibes. And we have two characters that are very opposites attract. They come from different walks of life. Our female main character is Bea. She comes from a life of poverty and neglect. And the male love interest, his name is Samson, and he comes from a family of absolute wealth. The two find themselves spending the summer together as neighbors in the same friend group, but they have a lot of chemistry. But is this going to be just a summer fling? They only have the summer together before they go to their own respective real world type lives. Bea is about to start her first year in college. The plot twist really threw me with this one. I felt very connected to Bea as a main character. It's very emotional. The backstories on these characters are emotional, so I highly recommend this one. It's relatively short as well. The other water setting romance that I have is Every Summer After by Carly Fortune. This is a book that is a second chance romance. We follow our two main characters in their childhood, and they end up meeting and getting to know each other because they are lake house neighbors. So the setting for this one is on a lake, and it's so cute. Our female main character, Persephone, her family owns a lake house that is an A-frame cabin, and I think that they're in Canada, if I'm remembering correctly. I went off the deep end looking at A-frame cabins on Pinterest, and my dream home is an A-frame cabin.
Anyways,
Persephone goes by Percy in this book as well. So Percy is our female main character, Sam is our male love interest. They end up becoming absolutely inseparable. It's kind of a friends to lovers trope in here as well. It takes place over multiple summers, and they can only really spend time with each other when they're at the lake with each other. So things get messy. And then after years and years and years later, they have a reconnection, and we'll see how that goes. Also, Carly Fortune's coming out with another book that is also like a lake setting, book. I forget the name of it. I'll try to pop up the cover somewhere on screen. I don't know when that's getting released, but I feel like I've seen a lot of people talking about it recently. Now we're gonna switch to the 2 horror recommendation books that I have that are also water setting. The first I'll talk about is The Depths by Nicole Lesprance. This is a YA gothic horror that takes place on a tropical island. Our main character is Addie. She's getting dragged along with her parents' honeymoon, so like not the vibe, but she ends up meeting an enigmatic boy on the beach and weird things start happening. The birds on the island start calling her name. The flowers start changing colors from white to like deep red and pink. She can't stop sleepwalking at night, which is crazy. And there's a strange little girl in the woods who wants to play hide and seek. When Addie learns about 2 sisters who died on the island centuries ago, she wonders if there's more to this place, things only she can see. The other like really interesting part about Addie is that she is like a deep sea diver. She also dives into these little caves on the island as well. There's like a cave system. The ghosts in this are very creepy. They definitely bring that Victorian gothic vibe to it. There are some scenes with bugs and it does get a bit claustrophobic, so if those are content warnings for you, just be aware. The second horror book that I have is called Into the Sublime by Kate A. Borman. This was published last summer and it doesn't have a lot of reads or ratings on Goodreads, which I'm a little bit surprised about. It sounds kind of similar vibes to The Depths, honestly. This is a YA psychological thriller that I think is gonna be more intense than The Depths. This book is also very claustrophobic as well. This is about 4 teenage girls who descend into a dangerous underground cave system in search of a lake of local legend, said to reveal your deepest fears. When the cops arrive, 4 girls entered the dangerous cave, only 3 came out alive. 2 of them were rushed to the hospital, and 1 is soaked in blood and ready to talk. I love books with unreliable narrators. Also, creepy cave systems. Nothing could be creepier for me as someone who is very, very claustrophobic and never wants to go into a cave in their entire life. I hope that this book scares the pants off of me. The last book that I'm gonna mention that is more of a fantasy horror book, but it definitely has some horror elements to it, is a book that I've read recently called House of Salt and Sorrows by Erin A. Craig. This audiobook was also a really good one. It's like a medium-paced book, but the vibes are immaculate. So picture an ancient haunted castle by the sea. The people of this society are very, very closely ingrained with the ocean, and they believe that when someone dies, you release them back into the brine. So yeah, if that says how obsessed with the ocean they are. Our main character is Annalise. She lives a very sheltered life. She's one of these like princess girly pops. Used to have 12 sisters, but now that 4 of the girls' lives have been cut short, each death more tragic than the last, Annalie is trying to figure out what's going on, but also break what seems to be a curse on her family, and she's trying to get to the bottom of the deaths so that no more of her family and her sisters die. She's disturbed by a series of ghostly visions. Annalie becomes increasingly suspicious that her sisters' deaths were no accidents. The girls have been sneaking out every night to attend glittering balls, dancing until dawn in silk gowns and shimmering slippers, but Annalie isn't sure whether to try to stop them or to join their forbidden trysts, because who or what are they really dancing with? The only content warning that I'm gonna say about this book is that there is a very graphic and honestly horrid birth scene, so please be warned. I didn't know that going into it, and I feel like that's not really mentioned anywhere, but my mind was blown at the plot twist at the end of this book. From where this book starts and the vibes that you get from the beginning to where it ends, I was not expecting that at all. I was not expecting it to get as gruesome as it did. I have 3 fantasy, much more fantasy books that are water settings. So the first of these is The Wicked Deep by Shea Earnshaw. This book had me absolutely falling in love with Shea Earnshaw's writing. I love this author. I think that she does such a good job at telling stories and doing so with excellent pacing. This book moves so fast, and yet you feel like it was the perfect length. We are in the cursed town of Sparrow, which is in the Pacific Northwest. I forget exactly where. I want to say maybe Oregon or Washington, but I can't remember. But it is a kind of cliffside, beachside town, and our main character lives on an island and she boats to school, and her island also has an old lighthouse. How cool is that? 2 centuries ago, 3 sisters were sentenced to death for witchery. Stones were tied to their ankles and they were drowned in the deep waters surrounding the town. Now, for a brief time each summer, the sisters return, stealing the bodies of 3 troubled girls so that they may seek their revenge, luring boys into Sparrow's Harbor and pulling them under. The book also gives Hocus Pocus vibes, except it takes place in the summer, so it's actually a really good book to read in the summer, but if you want a very witchy, fast-paced, Creep-a-Deep's book, highly recommend. Y'all know I have to shout out The Bridge Kingdom by Danielle Jensen because this is one of the best enemies to lovers books I've ever read. The way that this book had me gagged and I was tabbing it nonstop. I love Lara and Aaron so much. This is a duology, so there is a second book, but this first book, it takes place in a bridge kingdom and the bridge is over water.
So it's perfect.
It fits in really nicely. Laura was basically raised her entire life to become an assassin in preparation for this arranged marriage. Her father had a bunch of daughters. I think there's like 7 of them. And he trained all of them to be little assassin baddies. One of them gets married off to the king of the Bridge Kingdom, and it is her job and her duty to assassinate this king, aka her arranged marriage husband. Well, she infiltrates her new home, a lush paradise surrounded by tempest seas, and comes to know her new husband, Aaron. Lara begins to question where true evil resides. Around her, she sees a kingdom fighting for survival, and in Aaron, a man fiercely protective of his people. As her mission drives her to a deeper understanding of the fight to possess the bridge, Lara finds the simmering attraction between her and Aaron impossible to ignore. It is incredible. This is one of my favorite books, literally of all time. The last book in this water setting section that I have to talk about, another one of my absolute favorites, is The Girl Who Fell Beneath the Sea by Axie O. If you like Studio Ghibli, you will love this. This is a YA book that is so feel-good and so heartfelt and just absolutely incredible and adorable and magical in every way possible. I can't stop screaming about this book. I literally love it so much. We follow Mina, and in her homeland for many, many years, storms have ravaged her entire society. To appease the sea god, who they think is like angry at them for bringing all of these storms and crazy waves and high seas that kill a lot of people every single year, to calm him, they sacrifice one girl to the sea every single year. But it's not working. So Mina decides to sacrifice herself for her family. She goes down under the sea to figure out what's going on and finds that he is in an accursed sleep. And she has to try to wake him up from this sleep because something is going on and she needs to save her people. With the help of a mysterious young man and a motley crew of demons, gods, and spirits, Mina sets out to wake him and bring an end to the storms once and for all. But she doesn't have much time. A human cannot live long in the land of the spirits, and there are those who would do anything to keep the sea god from waking. This is easily the most beautiful book that I own. It is just gorgeous. This is Studio Ghibli's Spirited Away, if Spirited Away took place under the sea. Now we're gonna switch to talking about some pirate books. I can't wait. So a lot of these I actually haven't read, so I'm going to give synopsi to the best of my abilities, but the couple that I have read, I'm going to talk about first. The first one being Saint by Adrienne Young. If you are unfamiliar with Saint, Fable, and Namesake by Adrienne Young, these books are so magical and they give you all of the pirate vibes. Saint is trying to navigate his way in this seafaring world. Basically, he's trying to establish himself by creating a fleet of ships, but to do so, he kind of has, I won't say a nefarious start, but he's not doing things completely above the law. There's some smuggling, there's some gems and jewels and diving. Saint is just the most overprotective, grumpy soft boy, and I love him so much. So as a boy, Elias learned the hard way what happens when you don't heed old tales. He's also very superstitious. 9 years after his lack of superstition got his father killed, he's grown into a young man of piety with a deep reverence for the hallowed sea and her fickle favor. As stories spread from port to port of the fisherman's son who has managed to escape the deadliest storms, his devotion to the myths and creeds has given him the reputation of the luckiest bastard to sail the Narrows. Now he's mere days away from getting everything his father ever dreamed for him: a ship of his own, a crew, and a license that names him as one of the first narrow-born traders. But when a young dredger from the unnamed sea who has more than one secret crosses his path, Elias's faith will be tested like never before. The great pull he feels towards her, the further he drifts from the things he spent the last 3 years working for. The romance in this had me actually screaming out loud. I loved it so much. I'll also talk very briefly about Fable and Namesake. This follows, obviously, Saint. Fable follows his daughter. I first read Fable and Namesake as those came out first, and then Saint was released, I want to say last year, but Fable and Namesake are also so absolutely stunning. You don't need to read this before you read Fable and Namesake if you just want to read those two. That's a duology. This is just a prequel that gives a little extra backstory because all of Adrian Young's fans were like,
give us a book about Saint.
Because he's a very different person when we meet him in Fable and Namesake, and this provides a lot of backstory, which it was so good. It was so good. And then I will briefly mention, if you want to be an absolute badass reading crazy person during this readathon, one of my other favorite books is Priory of the Orange Tree. She is a chunky gal, but this does have pirates in it. It moves around a lot of different places in the world. However, there are a lot of sections that have to deal with sailing and the sea, and there is an especially cold-hearted pirate captain that we meet in this book. She is not the central focal point of this story, so I will mention that. However, there are pirates in this book, and they count. There's also dragons, which we love, and that will subtract points from the dragons team. So, just saying. Okay, and now we're going to get into these books I haven't read yet. The first one that I'll talk about is called Sea of Ruin by Pam Godwin. This was pitched to me as a smutty Pirates of the Caribbean, and so do I even need to say anything else? Like, probably not, but here we go. Bennett Sharp is on the run. Wanted for piracy, she fears neither God nor death nor man except priest Farrell. An unfaithful, stormy-eyed libertine hunts her with terrifying possessiveness. Say even less. Like, I cannot wait to read this book. Nothing will stop him from coming for her. Not his unforgivable betrayal. Not when she's captured by the ice-cold pirate hunter, Lord Ashley Cutler. She must escape Ashley's prison and priest's deceit. But can she walk away from their twisted desires? I can't wait to stick and read this book. I think I'm gonna kick off the readathon with this book, honestly, because it's been calling my name for so long, and then when I found out about this readathon, I was like, okay, I have to save this book, but I need to honestly start with this one. It sounds so good. Next up is another one that I was shooketh to my coreth when I found out about it, because it's by Danielle Jensen, who I just spoke about her Bridge Kingdom book that I devoured and screamed about. This book is called Dark Shores, and it is a series in which there's a couple books already released. It's a series that came out in 2019, which I'm just behind on the times and I did not know about. But it is a high seas adventure. Blackmail and meddling gods meet in Dark Shores, which is a thrilling YA fantasy series. In a world divided by meddlesome gods and treacherous oceans, only the Marin possess the knowledge to cross the endless seas. But they have one mandate: East must never meet West. And then our two main characters in this, we have our female girly, Tarania, and she is the second mate of the Quincence, an heir to Marin Triumvirate.
These are some big brain words, so hopefully I'm saying them correctly.
Her people are born of the seas and the keeper of its secrets, but when her closest friend is forced into an unwanted betrothal, Tariana breaks her people's mandate so her friend might escape a choice with devastating consequences. And then our male lead is a soldier with a secret. His name is Marcus. He's the commander of the 37th Notorious Legion that has led the Selendor Empire to conquer the entire East. The Legion is his family, but they don't know the truth he's been hiding since childhood. It is a secret he'll do anything to protect, no matter how much it costs him and the world. And there's a dangerous quest when an Empire senator discovers the existence of Dark Shores. He captures Tirania's crew and threatens to reveal Marcus's secret unless they can sail in pursuit of conquest, forcing the two into an unlikely, unwilling alliance. Y'all, Danielle Jensen writes the best enemies to lovers books. I can't wait to scream over this. I would be remiss if I didn't mention this book because it's actually a sin that I haven't read it yet, but I'm so excited that I get to read it during this readathon. We are also doing a buddy read for this book during the readathon as well in our Discord, which I will leave the link to join if you would like down below. And that is Daughter of the Pirate King by Trisha Levenseller. There will be plenty of time for me to beat him soundly once I've gotten what I came for. Sent on a mission to retrieve an ancient hidden map, the key to a legendary treasure trove, 17-year-old pirate captain Alosa deliberately allows herself to be captured by her enemies, giving the perfect opportunity to search their ship. More than a match for the ruthless pirate crew, Alosa has only one thing standing between her and the map, her captor. An unexpectedly clever and unfairly attractive first mate written. But not to worry, for Alosa has a few tricks up her sleeve and no lone pirate can stop the Daughter of the Pirate King. Now, let me throw a curveball and throw in a Brandon Sanderson book in here, because why not? And it was just published in April of 2023, and that is Tress of the Emerald Sea. It is a Cosmere novel. I have never read anything by Brandon Sanderson, but I feel like this might be a good one to start with because it fits perfectly. It's a standalone novel, so you don't have to read anything leading up to this. You'll be all set to just jump into this one if you so choose. And it's for those of us who loved The Princess Bride. The only life that Tress has ever known on her island home in an emerald green ocean has been a simple one, with the simple pleasures of collecting cups brought by sailors from faraway lands and listening to stories told by her friend Charlie. But when his father takes him on a voyage to find a bride and disaster strikes, Tress must stow away on a ship and seek the sorceress of the deadly midnight sea. Amid the spore oceans where pirates abound, can Tress leave her simple life behind and make her own place sailing a sea where a single drop of water can mean instant death. Y'all, this might be my first Brandon Sanderson book. I need to get into Brandy Sandy. It's also a crime that I haven't done that yet either. Straight to jail for me. And then the last book that I'm going to mention is another pirate fantasy romance, and this is On These Black Sands by Vanessa Rassinen. This is also the first book in a series. We have a deliciously gray hero in this book. We have a relatable heroine and a found family you will root for, an enemies to lovers story with a slow burn romance in one bed. Oh my gosh, but this book is one of a trilogy that ends on a cliffhanger, but it's worth it. I'm screaming. He doesn't mind killing people, he just prefers to do it on his own terms, but the pirates have no say in who they kill on this island. The council orders, the pirates obey. This arrangement has kept Declan from setting foot on these shores for years until a bit of bad luck forces him to return, but it may prove a lucrative stop if the rebels' information is true. Find the dagger, escape this life, but only if this damn stowaway doesn't ruin everything first. I can't deal with how excited I am for these pirate fantasy romances, y'all. It's gonna be so lit. I hope that you enjoyed this video. If you did, please be sure to give it a big thumbs up, subscribe to my channel if you want to see more. Please leave any recommendations that you have down below as well. Any water setting books, any pirate books, whether they be fantasy romance or not. I still need to figure out my TBR for this readathon, but if you're figuring out your TBR, I hope that you got some good recommendations from this video. Like I mentioned, there's still so much time to join us if you are interested in this readathon, or hopefully you got some good recommendations for your summer TBRs as well, because all of these books would be so perfect for summer too. Thank you so much for watching. I will catch you in the comments and I will see you in my next one. Bye!